Tonight on CTV News, fighting extortion violence.
This is a serious step. It gives police significant investigative tools. We don't make this recommendation lightly.
The Premier wants the gang linked to extortion threats in Surrey to be declared a terrorist group.
They are essentially saying that she was coerced to do something against her will.
The court battle over the will of an elderly woman who left $1 million to a male escort.
We're undoing some of that past harm and injustice. So this is a big part of reconciliation and truth.
A first for Vancouver. Council votes to change Trotch Street to a name in the Musqueam language. How the city is dealing with any potential confusion.
This is CTV News with me, Jung Lee.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, we begin with new developments in the extortion violence that has rocked the South Asian business community in Surrey. There have been calls for police to do more, and now Premier David Eby is vowing to get Ottawa involved to crack down on the gang that has linked itself to the frightening crimes. CTV's Craig Krause reports.
Gunshots, violence and fear, all wrapped up in extortion, leading to calls for change in Surrey.
We are here because criminals are waging economic terrorism in our community.
After those comments by the mayor on the weekend, Premier David Eby responded Tuesday.
I will be writing to the Prime Minister to ask that one of the gangs that is self-identified as being involved in some of these activities, the Lawrence Bishnoi Group, be listed as a terrorist organization in Canada.
Potentially joining the likes of the Taliban, ISIS, and Mexican cartels. A designation bringing with it enforcement tools.
This is a serious step. It gives police significant investigative tools. We don't make this recommendation lightly.
But why now? The group is no stranger to BC in Canada.
I mentioned previously the Lawrence Bishnoi gang that's involved in extortions and narcotics originating from India.
That was back in October, and the India Counterterrorism Law Enforcement Agency has also said Bishnoi operates as terrorist syndicate from jails in different states in India and through an associate in Canada. BC's public safety critic Eleanor Sturkle welcomes the designation, but says more needs to be done.
Premier Eby needs to dig into the coffers a little bit, give the provincial RCMP and municipal jurisdictions more money specifically to target investigations of this nature, and work harder at rebuilding people's trust in our justice system so that people come forward to report the valuable information that police will need to advance the investigation.
Both the Surrey Police Service and the RCMP have yet to confirm or deny the recent attacks are linked to Lawrence Bishnoi. Regardless, the community wants change, and they want it now. Craig Krause, CTV News, Vancouver.
The Premier is also weighing in on the allegations of blackmail involving former BC Conservative MLAs. David Eby is calling on Conservative leader John Rustad to go to the authorities following a leaked letter where Rustad accuses a trio of MLAs of blackmail. CTV's Isabella Zafrizi joins us now with the details. And Isabella, what is the Premier pushing the Conservative leader to do?
Mijung, David Eby says if John Rustad refuses to bring these allegations forward to police, the NDP will. Eby calls the allegations serious and is adamant there needs to be an investigation. Rustad wrote a 5-page letter claiming former colleagues who split from the party are threatening to release private text messages and secret phone recordings. He says staff are being blackmailed to take jobs with the former Conservatives, calling it, quote, sociopathic behavior. The letter prompted a strong response from the Premier today.
Mr. Rustad needs to explain to the public what's happening. He needs to bring the information that he has to the police. These are very serious allegations. And if he fails to bring them to the police for whatever reason, then we will bring them to the police to make sure that this is properly and thoroughly investigated.
Rustad didn't name anyone in the letter, referring to the 3 independent MLAs, but interim 1BC leader Dallas Brody calls the letter baseless, false, and defamatory. Brody, along with Tara Armstrong, announced the new party last week. Brody left the BC Conservatives over her controversial remarks about residential schools. Jordan Keeley, who did not join the 1BC party and still sits as an independent, says he had no involvement in the alleged blackmail. Mijang.
Thank you, Isabella. Back from his trade mission in Asia, the Premier is expressing concern over the contract for 4 new BC Ferries vessels being awarded to a shipbuilder in China. As Yasmin Gandam reports, David Eby now plans to work with the federal government to improve BC's capacity to build at home.
Unfortunately, the ferries aren't going to get built here at home. That's a serious issue.
It's clear it is not smooth sailing. Premier David Eby now reacting to the news that BC Ferries has hired a Chinese company to build 4 new vessels for its aging fleet.
It's important to me that wherever we can, we're building Canadian, we're creating Canadian jobs.
Not a single Canadian company bid on the contract, so Eby says it's crucial the corporation move forward, keeping travel afloat for the hundreds of British Columbians who rely on the vessels.
That we don't leave families sitting on the tarmac waiting for a ferry because the propeller fell off because it's 50 years old.
Eby says he will now be working with federal partners to improve BC and the country's capacity to do future projects at home, as building the ships in Europe would cost $1 billion more.
I am going to be reaching out to the Prime Minister to work with him to ensure that we're building capacity so that ships 5, 6, 7, and 8 can be built right here in British Columbia.
It comes amid a trade war with China that includes tariffs on Canadian seafood and tensions between the U.S. and China. And after workers voiced their concerns last week, saying the move went against Eby's Buy Canada approach.
Listen to Premier Eby say, buy BC. And, my members are going to the grocery store. I'm going to the grocery store. We're picking the fruits and vegetables that are local to Canada.
Despite the opposition, the new vessels are scheduled to be done between 2029 and 2031. Yasmin Gandam, CTV News, Vancouver.
To Surrey now, where a 93-year-old woman was killed in a crash this morning. Mary Cranston is following this in the Breaking News Center. Mary?
Mijang, this was a 2-vehicle crash, and it happened near the intersection of 158th and 92. Police were called to the scene around 10:30 this morning. Extensive damage to both vehicles. Police say despite life-saving measures, the 93-year-old woman, the driver of one of the vehicles, could not be saved. At this point, the cause of the collision remains unknown.
The other driver is cooperating. No reports on any injuries, and certainly not serious on their part. And officers have already spoken with a number of witnesses who witnessed the collision.
And he adds the crash is not suspicious, but officers are looking to speak with more witnesses. Anyone who has information is asked to get in touch with Surrey Police. Mijang.
Thanks, Mary. A man from the Lower Mainland has been returned here after facing justice in Washington state for leading police on a wild chase. He's now been charged with robbery after an alleged carjacking in Richmond. CTV's Ben Nesbitt has the details.
Nearly 6 months after being arrested by U.S. authorities, a BC man has been turned over to the Richmond RCMP. He now faces a single count of robbery after allegedly stealing a truck. This video from social media shows police in Washington state pursuing the stolen Toyota Tacoma shortly after the suspect pushed his way through the Peace Arch border crossing, reportedly hitting another vehicle in the process before making his way into the U.S. illegally. Police say it all started in Richmond just after noon on December 12th, when the man allegedly used this weapon to threaten a victim into giving him the keys.
Our frontline officer located the vehicle on Highway 99 going southbound into the Massey Tunnel and attempted a traffic stop in a marked police vehicle, but the man continued to drive.
After bursting through the border, a high-speed chase ensued.
There is a customs K9 following. The driver carjacked the vehicle.
Washington State Police also tracked the suspect from the air with a helicopter. Officers were eventually able to stop the pickup using a pit maneuver near the Bow Hill rest area near Burlington. Sean Bergstrom, who's in his mid-40s, was charged with several offenses in Washington, but has already been sentenced and released from that jurisdiction. Now he must face the justice system here in BC as well.
This was an extremely high-profile case, and, we are very appreciative of the U.S. authorities.
Bergstrom made a brief court appearance in Richmond Provincial Court on June 11th. He's scheduled to be back before a judge later this month. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Richmond.
Police in Abbotsford have made an arrest in relation to a serious motor vehicle accident that resulted in the death of one senior. Abbey PD say they have arrested 43-year-old Jaswinder Deol for the February 2024 death of 84-year-old Phil Anderson. The two were involved in a major collision which resulted in Anderson dying at the scene. Deol has been charged with impaired operation causing death and dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death. Joseph Trutch, BC's first Lieutenant Governor, is well known for enacting racist policies harmful to Indigenous people. Now, Vancouver City Council has voted unanimously to change the name of the Kitsilano street bearing his name. CTV's Ben Milger has details.
Running north-south for 18 blocks, Trutch is a quiet tree-lined street in Kits. But the folks living here will soon have new addresses. The new street name is Chamusqueam Awesome and is legally in the traditional language of the Musqueam people. The English translation is Musqueam View, and both will appear on street signs.
There's a lot of people that are still upset, but we have to teach them. We have to teach them of the wrongdoing and the reasons why.
The street was named after Joseph Trutch, BC's first Lieutenant Governor, a man known for enacting racist policies harmful to Indigenous people. In an 1872 letter to the Prime Minister, he referred to utter savages living along the coast. He also reduced the size of some reserve lands by up to 91%.
I think it's a great renaming of a very controversial figure that caused a great deal of harm to the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people and Indigenous people throughout British Columbia.
Council voted unanimously in favor of the change, but not before some Trutch Street residents voiced concerns, primarily with the new name not being in English.
So there's no way for us to spell out our address if we're calling services. There's no way for us to input this on our cell phones, on our iPads, on our computers.
The city says it consulted with stakeholders, including first responders and Canada Post, and residents will be able to use the English translation of Musqueam View. The Musqueam Indian Band formally presented the name Chamusqueam Awesome as a gift to the city.
I look forward to keep moving and moving the bar slowly, baby steps, but we'll get there at the end of the day. So, thank you.
City staff will begin installing the new street signs on Friday. Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
A BC Conservative who lost his seat in last year's provincial election claims to have new evidence of misconduct impacting the outcome of the election.
And then on the certification envelope, not only the person who was assisting had to put their name on it in a very clear box and in bold. Further, that person was supposed to sign on the certification envelope. That is also not done. So, and then further, in violation of the Election Act, Elections BC accepted those ballots.
Hanveer Singh Randhawa and his lawyers say they've filed an amended petition in Supreme Court introducing new evidence alleging irregularities. Randhawa lost in his riding of Surrey Guildford to incumbent NDP MLA Gary Begg by just 22 votes. A somber ceremony was held at Vancouver's New Brighton Park today, marking 67 years since the collapse of the Second Narrows Bridge, now known as the Ironworkers Memorial Bridge.
This is a very solemn day for our whole province, but of course especially for the families, the co-workers who have carried this loss for so many years.
The last known survivor, 96-year-old Lucien Lessard, was in attendance. He was working on the bridge deck when it gave way on June 17, 1958, sending him and dozens of others plunging into the water. 19 workers died. Officials say the event is not just about remembering those who lost their lives, but also about reminding people of the risks workers still face today. A major milestone today at Royal Columbian Hospital, where signage was officially unveiled for the new Jim Pattison Acute Care Tower.
It's going to be a centerpiece of our hospital campus that's being completely reimagined. This moment represents years of vision, generosity, and collaboration, and many of the people who helped make it possible are here with us today.
The name honors businessman and philanthropist Jim Pattison, who made a $30 million donation towards the facility back in 2022. The tower is part of a massive expansion project set to fully open in early 2026 with an expanded ER space, more operating rooms, and advanced equipment. Pattison laid a brick from the original 1912 hospital at the site to commemorate the hospital's history as it moves into a new era of care. An 84-year-old North Vancouver woman leaves $1 million in her will to a much younger male escort. Relatives are trying to challenge it in court. Her niece and nephew are trying to get her will overturned so potentially they could inherit the money. What a wills expert says about the case when CTV News continues. Stay with us. Should the last will and testament of a Metro Vancouver senior who left $1 million to a male escort be honored, or was she coerced into making him her sole beneficiary? It's a fascinating case that will soon be heard in a Vancouver courtroom. CTV's Shannon Patterson has the details.
A BC Supreme Court judge will now decide if the will of Janet Henry, an 84-year-old North Vancouver woman who left her $1 million fortune to a male escort in his 20s who she'd been seeing in the final months of her life, will stand, or if that money will go to her last beneficiary, her former personal trainer, or her closest living relatives, a niece and nephew in Australia. Candice Cho is a wills and estates lawyer in Vancouver who isn't part of the case but has read the court filings.
I think the facts in this case are more unique than my usual cases, although it's not uncustomary to have somewhat dramatic facts. We kind of joke about how it's kind of like soap operas for the dead.
The court documents outline how Henry hired Simon Garston to provide companionship and sexual services in the final year of her life. 3 months before she died in November 2021, she made him the sole beneficiary of her will, and he inherited $1 million. Henry's niece and nephew argue their aunt was unduly influenced by Garston.
They are essentially saying that she was coerced to do something against her will. Essentially, that's what undue influence is.
The niece and nephew aren't asking the judge to throw out their aunt's entire will, just her gift to the escort, because Henry's previous will didn't name them as beneficiaries either.
It was a former personal trainer that she had a close relationship with, but who presumably was also much younger than her at the time. I did the math. It looked like she was 72 when she met him, and he was much younger than her, and she chose at that time to give her estate to him. And he was added as a party to this action. So really the contest is now between the next of kin and also the former personal trainer friend and the male escort.
Cho says it can be difficult to convince a judge that a person's last wishes shouldn't be followed.
I don't see anything from the case to indicate that there was any declaration of incapacity on her front, despite her advanced age. And so she has the rights of any other person to give her estate to whomever she wants. That's called testamentary freedom. And if she wants to give it to somebody that she has strong affection to, who happens to be her male escort, she has the freedom to do so.
She says it's a case that wills and estates lawyers will be following closely.
Any predictions here?
I don't know. It could go any way. Yeah. It'd be fascinating to read the reasons for judgment.
The Supreme Court judge has set a June 30th trial date in this case, but the former personal trainer, who was the beneficiary before the new will was drafted, has asked for an adjournment so he has time to prepare his case. That hearing will be next week. Shannon Patterson, CTV News, Vancouver.
According to the BC Wildfire Service, one of the province's most notable fires of the year is now under control. The Dryden Creek blaze just outside Squamish is currently contained with its 60-hectare perimeter and isn't expected to spread beyond that. So far through this year, there have been 402 wildfires across the province, 85% of which have been 10 hectares or smaller. The service is crediting the hard work of initial attack crews responding to new fires quickly. And Anne is here. Good news that they're at least managing to keep it under control.
Yeah, considering Mother Nature hasn't been helping out whatsoever. It has been extremely dry for this whole month. We are hoping to see a few spotty showers as we head through the overnight and into tomorrow morning. Today we saw a mix of sun and cloud. It is clouding over right now. Here's a look at temperatures across the board. 20 degrees at the Harbour, 22 in Burnaby and in Abbotsford, a touch warmer in Surrey, Pitt Meadows and Chilliwack, all sitting at 23 degrees right now. So as we head through the overnight, it'll be warm, 14 degrees overnight, and we'll see a few showers into tomorrow morning, and then that's when things will clear out of the way. We'll see a high of 19 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud late afternoon, early evening.
CTV Weather brought to you by Expedia Cruises. Make the most of your next vacation by booking with those who've been there. Visit expediacruises.ca.
And it's a cloudy and cool start to summer. I've got your full forecast coming up.
Strange to see showers definitively in the forecast, Anne. Are you sure about this?
Well, it could change tomorrow. We don't know.
Okay, thanks, Anne. A developing story from the G7 summit. Canada and India have agreed to restore diplomatic ties. Also ahead.
Our families had a very difficult night. It's one of the biggest attacks from the very beginning of this war.
How much more money Mark Carney is pledging to support Ukraine as Canada announces more sanctions against Russia. That's ahead. At day 2 of the G7 summit, Prime Minister Mark Carney met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, with the pair coming to an agreement. The two leaders agreed today to designate new high commissioners and restore regular diplomatic services to citizens in both countries. The announcement comes after the two met on the sidelines of the summit earlier today, which Carney invited Modi to attend. This comes after both countries expelled multiple diplomats from the other nation last fall. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's presence at the G7, along with promises of sanctions against Russia and more support for Ukraine, is bringing renewed hope to Canada's Ukrainian community. But as Terry Fikowski reports, some feel snubbed by the early departure of the U.S. president.
Prime Minister Mark Carney welcomes Ukraine's president to Kananaskis, but the meeting was overshadowed by a night of deadly strikes back home.
One of the biggest attacks from the very beginning of this war.
Ukraine's capital was bombarded overnight Tuesday with Russian missiles and drones, killing more than a dozen people and injuring 130 more. Canada is pledging over $4 billion in additional support to Ukraine and new sanctions targeting Russia.
Drones, helicopters, broader munitions, over $2 billion worth of assistance.
Canada's backing and Zelensky's invitation from Carney to attend the G7 summit is monumental for the Ukrainian community.
It's one of the ways to show that the world do not forget us.
Many rallied leading up to his arrival in Alberta and showed other signs of support.
He is a hero. He is our champion.
But there is disappointment with the U.S. president's absence. Donald Trump left the summit early due to the escalating violence and conflict in the Middle East.
Come on, I don't believe he cannot do this from Kananaskis even to make some decisions, but to stay and to show the respect to all those leaders who came.
Watching discussions unfold is Lee Reeney, the chief editor at the Lviv Times. He questioned Trump's early exit after the tense meeting at the White House earlier this year.
There's a big sentiment in Ukraine that he left primarily because he did not want to deal with Zelensky. He did not want to deal with the questions.
Despite Trump's absence, the director of the G7 research group believes Zelensky will consider his trip to the summit a success.
Boy, he's going to walk away from here with a lot more money, a lot more arms, and a lot more sanctions against Russia. So he'd be pretty happy when he leaves.
Premier Danielle Smith posting online greeting Zelensky on his arrival, writing Alberta stands with Ukraine, a sign of hope for those watching the war and heartbreak unfold back home.
Really hopeful that this will bring us a step closer to peace.
Bridging the gap of Fraser Valley families struggling to put food on the table. A nonprofit grocery store in Abbotsford is changing lives. Also ahead.
So this is really the first time that we've ever seen these numbers brought to light.
Do women who go on maternity leave suffer on the career front? The concerning numbers from a new study tracking how many were actually laid off after their leave. That's ahead. A volcano in south-central Indonesia erupted today, spewing towering columns of hot ash into the air. Authorities raised concerns the eruption alert to the highest level and expanded the danger zone to 8 kilometers from the crater. The volcano unleashed about 10,000 meters of thick gray clouds following significant volcanic activity. After a 6-year hiatus, the Davie Village Pride Festival is back. It's returning as the grand finale of the 47th Vancouver Pride Parade.
This season is really about a sense of homecoming. Pride is so important, and for all of us, it's really about that feeling of coming together, being together, celebrating together, and no place to do that better than Davie.
The Pride Festival will bring live entertainment, vendors, and more to Davie Village from 2 to 10 p.m. on August the 3rd. A unique Fraser Valley grocery store is helping people struggling to make ends meet. It's offering a hand up rather than a handout while turning surplus food into ready-to-make meal kits. CTV's Michelle Bernaro explains.
3 years ago, Andrea Sigmund was in a tough spot.
I suddenly became a single mom to 3 littles, 2 toddlers, and a newborn baby.
And she found herself struggling to put food on the table.
Sometimes it can be really hard to ask for help.
She was referred here to the Gathering Market.
Come on in.
It's a boutique grocery store.
We didn't want it set up to look like a warehouse.
Started by another mom who also understands what food insecurity feels like.
When my kids were little, we struggled to put food on the table. And as a mom, it is one of the hardest things to admit that you're not able to feed your own children. And I had to rely on handouts. And I hated every single minute of that.
Now a Red Seal chef, Hika Morton has taken her skills and created a non-profit grocery store that looks like a high-end market.
Our families have a tendency to fall between the cracks. They're not who you would think of that would need to use a food bank or a free service of food. They are families who do not want to have to go that route, but they cannot quite afford a retail grocery store.
Tucked inside a church, the Gathering Market offers families affordable, healthy food choices.
If you have $30 or $40 a week to spend on groceries, that is enough to make sure you have food for your family for the entire week. Garlic chicken rice bowl, that's the one.
Every week, meal kits are created by volunteers with donated surplus food.
Our meal kits will serve a family of 4 for only $5. It's a little bit like a chef's plate, so everything is prepared, measured out for you. We will have everything from chicken and pepper fajitas to black bean and beef burritos to hamburgers to smokies and buns.
In the past 3 years, Gathering Market has provided more than 51,000 meals. But Gathering Market provides more than just food.
These people are here to love on you, to help you, to support you.
It also offers dignity.
See you, Andrea.
Michelle Bernaro, CTV News, Abbotsford.
When new moms are busy bonding with their babies on maternity leave, the last thing they should have to worry about is their job. But a new study suggests 15% of Canadian moms were dismissed, laid off, or had contracts go unrenewed around the time they were on leave.
When talking with the government about changes, the question was always like, well, we don't see it's a problem, we don't have the numbers. So we went out and got the numbers. So this is really the first time that we've ever seen these numbers brought to light, and it's actually kickstarted we're going to be doing a bigger survey as part of a university study.
The study surveyed 1,400 women who gave birth between 2022 and 2023. Venditti wants the federal government to help, including making changes to employment insurance to better support moms who have lost their jobs. It's not all business for world leaders at the G7. How some are enjoying the spectacular landscape of the Rockies. Also ahead.
They don't answer their phone. There's no way you can leave a message. You can't send an email. You just can't contact them.
Paving problems. Homeowners stuck with a shoddy job, and now the contractor is nowhere to be found. A word of warning when hiring people. That's ahead. It's that time of year when many homeowners consider getting their driveway done. It can be expensive and you may be pitched door-to-door offers. We speak with two people who just had terrible experiences. That story right after Anne's forecast. But first, the G7 leaders are taking a little time to play tourist while they're in Kananaskis. That is the UK's Keir Starmer taking a few photos on his phone of the Rockies, just like thousands of tourists before him. Starmer posted this on his X account shortly after he arrived on Sunday, saying, "Not a bad spot." Typical British kind of understated wryness.
It's so beautiful, it's okay.
I don't think the mountains look like that in the UK.
Oh, no, definitely not at all. And they had great weather, so yeah, glad he was able to get some time to play tourist. So for us, we saw a mix of sun and cloud earlier today. This is what it looked like from our camera on top of Grouse Mountain, looking out towards the city. A few clouds, but now we are seeing increasing cloud coverage as we head through the evening and overnight hours, all because of this low pressure system spinning out in the Pacific and bringing in some unsettled conditions as we head into the next few hours. So here's a look at our weather tracker right now. For the most part, from Maple Ridge East, you're looking at beautiful sunny conditions. It's already clouding over for Metro Vancouver, and it'll stay that way through the overnight. We will see spotty showers into tomorrow morning for your early morning commute. As you can see for Maple Ridge and Chilliwack, it won't be a lot of rain, but we will see showers consistently through the afternoon. It's not until late afternoon into early tomorrow evening that things dry up and start to clear up as well. For the southern interior, you're looking at a chance of afternoon thunder showers. Your provincial forecast at the bottom of your screen. Unsettled for Port Hardy, 15 degrees. A few showers to start off the day with some sunny breaks through the afternoon. That's what you can expect for Campbell River and Comox, as well as the parts of the South Island from Tofino right down to Victoria. You'll start to see some clearings through the afternoon hours with temperatures between 13 and 17 degrees. Unsettled for the Sunshine Coast with a high of 17. Morning showers and afternoon breaks. Active weather up the Sea to Sky Highway, 15 for Whistler, 18 for Squamish, and for us across the Lower Mainland. Spotty showers through to the early morning hours and parts of the afternoon for the eastern sections of Metro Vancouver before it dries up and clears up. Chance of afternoon thunder showers for the Fraser Valley, Abbotsford, and Chilliwack with highs to 18 degrees. Heading into Thursday, we say goodbye to spring under a mix of sun and cloud and 19 degrees. Cool and cloudy for Friday, dropping down to 16. We say hello to summer at 8:41 in the evening. Starting off on Saturday, a few showers, and then it dries up through the afternoon. Clearing up on Sunday, 19 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud, and then starting to warm up once again. Monday and Tuesday, we're looking at temperatures between 21 and 22 under mostly sunny skies. CTV weather brought to you by Expedia Cruises for air, land, and sea vacations. So not a lot of rain, but we'll take what we can get. More on the way overnight in Friday into Saturday, but still, we definitely need more than that.
I was looking at the boulevards and everything, and the grass is brown. There's a lot of brown patches.
We haven't had a drop.
Very strange. Okay, thanks, Anne. A woman in Ontario says she paid thousands of dollars to have her driveway repaved recently, only for the workers to disappear after doing a poor job. As CTV's Pat Foran reports, that's a risk you take when going with door-to-door sales pitches.
From a distance, this recently paved driveway in Ajax looks okay, but Paulette Blenman says it's lumpy, uneven, and already ants are burrowing through it.
If it was done really good, I don't think the ants would be able to be digging holes already. It's just a terrible job.
Blenman says the pavers knocked on her door and said they were doing other driveways in the neighborhood. She paid $6,000 for this paving job and now can't get in contact with them.
All the information is not correct. They don't answer their phone. There's no way you can leave a message. You can't send an email. You just can't contact them.
When the contractor finished the driveway, they put this big pile of debris here, but they said they would come back and clean it up. That was a month ago, and now they're nowhere to be found.
We tried to go through the neighborhood to see if we could find where they are, but we haven't found them yet.
Up the street, other homes that had their driveways done by the same company also have debris left behind. Others had their water valves paved over and will need to try and locate them and dig them up. Did these guys just come and knock on your door?
They just knock on the door.
In a separate incident involving a different company, someone also knocked on Luigi Raffaelli's door in East York. A contractor said he could patch and repair his driveway, but the company only applied sealer to half and did a poor job. They also claim they would repair his front steps, but Raffaelli did this work himself. He paid the contractor $3,900 in advance, and he never came back.
I trusted him. My wife got upset. Why did you give the money in advance? That was my mistake.
To avoid driveway paving scams, beware unsolicited door-to-door offers. Research companies thoroughly, get multiple quotes, review contracts carefully, and don't pay in advance.
I feel cheated. I feel that's not nice.
Both Raffaelli and Blenman say they'll be more careful in the future when a contractor knocks on their door. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Big news for Canadian Formula One fans just after the break, and a snout-to-snout standoff after a black bear barges into a house only to be met by a dog named Doodle. And it wasn't the bear's first foray that day. Plus, lost and found. Adam meets a man who found a stuffy at a local beach, and here's a story that spans across the globe. Coming up on the Sawatsky Sign-Off. Right now, here's a preview of CTV Morning Live.
Should you accept a loan just because you're approved for it? Wednesday on CTV Morning Live, what you should know before agreeing to a loan and what to consider before taking on debt. Plus, we'll learn what's in store for Jazz Fest starting this weekend, along with a special performance. We'll see you in the morning.
News, weather, and traffic. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, weekdays 6 to 9.
A big night at BC Place Canada's men's soccer team kicks off its Gold Cup run tonight against Honduras, with eyes on the 2026 FIFA World Cup. CTV's Kevin Chirac joins us live from BC Place. Kevin, how's the atmosphere out there?
Atmosphere is fantastic. Plenty of Canadian fans, you can probably see behind me, and a surprising amount of Honduras fans actually too. And I've even found one person who's cheering for both Canada and Honduras. This is Obez Hernandez Osorto. Obez, it's great to see you. We have the Honduras flag here. We got the Canadian flag on your hat. Tell us about your connection to both countries.
Well, you know, I'm a Canadian citizen too. That's what I said. This game, if I win one of those win, I win myself too, because I win the best.
So it's a win-win, whoever wins.
Whatever it win is good for me.
Okay, I think you may be the best dressed person, not only here around BC Place, but maybe in all of Vancouver. Tell us about your outfit.
I'm the pirate of Vancouver now. I used to be the pirate of Montreal. Now I'm the pirate of Vancouver. How Vancouver accept me like a pirate. I came here because now I have the sea here. In Montreal, I didn't have the sea, just the lake.
Well, you look amazing. Enjoy the game. It's a fantastic outfit, and go Canada, go Honduras. Whoever wins, a win-win, right?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Whatever it is, both. Yeah.
All right, take care. Enjoy the game. That's just amazing. It's going to be a great game. Canada up against Honduras. Canada have been playing really well lately. They're actually ranked 30th in the FIFA World Rankings. That's the highest ranking in the country's history. And Canada enters the 16-team Gold Cup with momentum, fresh off a 4-2 win over Ukraine earlier this month. Odds makers give them the third best chance to win the tournament, behind favorites Mexico and the United States. While some top teams are resting star players for the summer, Canada's going all in, looking to compete for the trophy and build chemistry heading into the World Cup 2026.
We feel strongly that we have a good team, that we have good balance in our team, and we have depth in our team. So I think a tournament like this is going to test all of those things.
Canada has decided to effectively treat this as a premier team event for this year. They want a trophy. They want to go into the World Cup knowing that they've won a trophy.
Canada's in Group B alongside Honduras, Curacao, and El Salvador. It's also a homecoming for Burnaby's own Nico Sigur, the 21-year-old hoping to make an impact and earn a spot on the World Cup roster. Also on Canada's squad, a couple of Vancouver Whitecaps, Ali Ahmed and Jaden Nelson are playing tonight, so be on the lookout for them. Kickoff gets going at 7:30. Should be a great atmosphere. Mijung, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, it looks like fun. Thanks, Kevin. After what's being hailed as a successful weekend of racing in Montreal, Canada will remain on the Formula One calendar for at least another decade. The news confirmed earlier today the Canadian Grand Prix has been extended an additional 4 years, keeping the race on the schedule until 2035. Stakes were high for this year's race after the 2024 Canadian GP was hit with numerous issues, including flooding at the race site. The extension comes with a cost of $117 million, with money coming from all 3 levels of government. One bear had a day to remember in California, swimming in pools and raiding freezers, but ran into one brave pooch that wasn't interested in having a guest. Security cameras caught the moment this black bear got up close and personal with a 17-year-old dog named Doodle on Saturday night. But that wasn't the bear's first surprise visit of the day. One neighbor says the same bear helped himself to a pizza from her kitchen, while another neighbor caught him taking a dip in a swimming pool. Meanwhile, Doodle was treated to a steak dinner for her bravery.
Wow, she's 17, and look at her, so protective.
Very gutsy.
Yeah.
I don't know, could Lucy do that, take on a bear?
Lucy won't even say hi to another dog. Like, that is a really brave dog.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, well, a wedding in Baltimore had more than just a bride and groom in tears. Even a park employee got caught up in the moment.
I promise to listen when you're trying to explain the Orioles to me and comfort you when there's another playoff game.
Aw, Ashley and Andrew were exchanging vows when the emotional moment was captured. A park worker was seen wiping away tears as she quietly watched the ceremony. She later clapped and congratulated the happy couple. The sweet moment was posted on TikTok with the caption, "She was crying, I was crying."
Aww.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I love weddings. I don't get invited to enough of them anymore. It's my demographic. It's different, right?
It's coming.
Okay. Mary, what's coming up tonight on the late news?
Nijang will have your highlights of the Gold Cup. We'll be getting some fan reaction at BC Place, and we have a response from the BC NDP and Elections BC after a BC Conservative candidate held a press conference this morning. Hanveer Randhawa claims to have new evidence of misconduct of the 2024 provincial election. He has filed an amended petition in BC Supreme Court. We'll have more details at 11:30.
All right, thanks, Mary. Finally, Adam shares the story of a lost stuffy discovered on an Oak Bay beach. It's a reunion that involves a little girl who lives on the other side of the world and her most treasured possession. On this Encore Sawatsky sign-off.
Gareth Godin never imagined he'd make a connection across the ocean when he made an unexpected discovery on the beach.
The poor thing looked cold, so I went to grab it, and my family's, "Don't touch it, it could be like a puppy's filthy stuffy."
It was a bunny slumped on a stump.
Well, there's even more reason to grab it if it's a puppy's.
Although the beach was empty of pets or people,
it was a mystery.
Gareth's mind was full of possible ways to reunite the rabbit with its owner and posed it for pictures.
Propping her up with the sunset behind her was the least I could do for her dignity and well-being.
Then the professional artist created a series of cartoons showing where the bunny was found, how it must be feeling, and finally, a plea for help.
So let's find a home for it. We need a miracle.
Gareth shared the images on social media before the post eventually reached a family who'd been visiting from Australia.
And we couldn't find Bunny anywhere, could we?
Andrew says his daughter Violet had been burying her brother in the sand before leaving the beach in tears because the driftwood she'd been playing with had floated away.
And she needed her bunny to comfort her because she was so sad. I said, "Oh no, where's Bunny?"
It was the first time since she'd been born that the 2.5-year-old had been separated from the bunny she named Flopsy.
We didn't think we'd ever see the bunny again.
So when they saw that Flopsy had been found and has now made the long journey back home to Australia, they couldn't be more grateful that Gareth cared for it so creatively in Canada.
It was beautiful. She was very, very excited.
And knowing that Violet and Flopsy have reunited on the other side of the world has made Gareth feel over the moon.
So hope that Flopsy and Flopsy's master have a great life together, and they tell the story often.
A story set across the sea that reminds us when all feels lost.
And then I was lost at the beach.
Like our bunny lost at the beach.
Then we was finding it.
To never give up hope of finding what we're looking for. Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Oak Bay.
It's so cute when little kids have an attachment to a stuffy.
I know. I can't believe that they were able to reunite Flopsy, who looks very well loved, by the way.
Very, very well loved. And to send it all around the whole side of the other side of the world.
Yeah, one of the benefits of social media. There are some downsides, but there are some good things.
And that was an upside. All right, let's take a look at our scenic snapshot for tonight. A beautiful view of Mount Robson from Kinney Lake. Thanks, Meredith, for sending this great shot in. And we want to see your scenic snapshot as well, so email us at scenicsnapshot@ctv.ca.
That doesn't even look real.
I know. It looks like a painting.
I love that turquoise water that you see in the Rockies. Beautiful. All right, thanks for joining us tonight. Mary will be back at 11:30.